The MLB is terrified of this. The San Diego Padres already star-studded lineup has now become a home for rehabbing or having a bounce back or a career year or whatever you want to call it. Nick Pivetta is one of the guys that is having an absolute career year now that he's come to the Padres. What's going on, everybody? I'm Christian Pedersen, back with another episode of Padres Digest. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is the part of the show where I try in one breath to introduce myself to the show and say, can you hit the subscribe button just because it's the YouTube thing to do. All right, let's talk about some baseball. I want to talk about our boy right there that we were talking about, Nick Pivetta. There are two main Padres that I think, like I said, the MLB is terrified of the Padres already. They are a good team, bordering on a great team, bordering on an elite team, but it all comes through the perception of Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts. Like, there are a lot of big name guys, but on both the offensive end and the pitching end, there have been guys this year who the Padres signed either for cheap or kind of on the back burner of MLB headlines and are getting career years out of. On the offensive side, Gavin Shildt. We've got other videos about him. You can go check all that on the timeline. That's why I say hit the subscribe button. This one, though, this video right here is dedicated not just as a love note to Nick Pivetta, but hear me out. We need to genuinely start the Nick Pivetta for the MLB All-Star Game campaign right here, right now. I want to be the champion of it. Somebody else has probably already put this take online, but in a fairly decent search that I did pre this video, couldn't find anybody as of yet dying on this hill. Here are the numbers. Top numbers are this season. Bottom numbers is his career numbers. So the two narratives going here is you can already see that the top stat line is a different pitcher than the rest of that stat line. The top stat line is a very good pitcher. The rest of that stat line is a very serviceable journeyman. And per what I think Padres fans contextually thought, and maybe I am just reading this differently, as you are all very happy to jump in the comment section and let me know how you feel. Jump in there. We signed this guy in the stretch where we found out that there was a Seidler family lawsuit. Padres lose out on Snell. Padres lose out on Sasaki. Padres lose Profar. Like, there was a string of L's, and then it was like, oh, in exchange you get Jason Hayward, Gavin Sheets, Nick Pivetta. Obviously, we've cut Guler. I don't even know how to say his name. Don't care. He was not good as a Padre. We are now potentially moving on from Hayward. So some of the signings this offseason didn't work, but some of the signings are now guys like that who are having career years. But a career year for Nick Pivetta could have also been that he's just above a 500 win-loss and below a 3 on the ERA. These numbers right there, those numbers equate to tweets from the fan base like this. And when you've got I firmly believe when you've got somebody who is a dog, that is pretty high on the scale of like, he's a guy, he's a bro, he's the man, the dude, he's a dog. Like, dog, especially with the AWG, is pretty high up there. And you can say, Christian, that's one of the dumbest analyses of baseball that I have ever heard. And it might be, but also you don't see people like, we never saw a Pedro Estacio is a dog tweet sent out. We never saw a Woody Williams is a dog tweet go out. There are Padres pitchers throughout our franchise's history who have had good numbers that you didn't have people go into the mat saying, like, he's a dog, he's a dude. So Nick Pivetta at 5-2, you look at where are the losses have been. Coors Field is his kryptonite. Coors Field is Coors and Arizona are pitching in radically different environments than the rest of baseball. And I get it that is now an in-division thing for him, but one bad outing at Coors and you take it down to 5-1 and his ERA is sub-2. If you can look at me with a straight face and say a 5-1 pitcher with a sub-2 ERA is not an all-star candidate, you are either a sociopath, somebody that does not like the San Diego Padres or just know nothing about baseball. That is a guy that we need to collectively, as a fan base, start beating the drum of, yes, we want to send Manny back. Yes, we want to send Nando back. Those guys are no-brainers, though. Those are big household names that will pick up nationwide type of voting. The Gavin Sheets one that we will do on the offensive side, I will rally behind him for the All-Star game. But Pivetta, I would say King has had a great year. I would say maybe over King, maybe with King, but maybe over King. I would say that there's no reliever that I would put. Right now, Pivetta is my guy who I would go with into the All-Star ballot battle, if you will. And I think it's also kind of interesting, you look, there have been now acknowledgments from Mike Shildt. Consistent there. He's been very consistent. That, to me, is the core of what terrifies Major League Baseball in this, is that if in the margins, the Padres have some wiggle room and some margin for error, that they have a guy who is their number 3 guy, quote unquote, but is consistently good and is consistent and is going to go in, day out. That is the guy where he then slowly and low-key, easy enough for me to get those backwards, I apologize, but he then becomes the pocket ace, if you will. We got this even going on right now. As of us recording this, Michael King is on the IL, so the Padres are shuffling things around. So this Pivetta start on Friday against the Pirates also, though, reschedules him to now be the guy in the number 1 slot starting the first game against the Dodgers in the upcoming series, and I absolutely love that. I think it's good to put him in some high leverage situations, so going forward over the next couple, he'll make 2 starts in this new slot in the rotation before King potentially enters the conversation and coming back. Darvish, you can check out the video on his recovery. He's still a ways off. Same with Joe Musgrove. So right now, unless Dylan Cease is looking to absolutely just entirely flip the switch and pull a rabbit out of his ass, we've got Nick Pivetta to go out there and be our ace for at least the next 2 cycles through the rotation. And what I think, again, to drive it home, that is just awesome to see in all of that, here's what we're paying him. Now, there's a difference in the value that we're getting out of him this year versus next year. $2.5 million versus $20.5 million is that's a large jump. So maybe in the end, we aren't actually paying any sort of discount price for him in the long run. But for the right now, for $2.5 million, to have a guy who might be 8, 9-3, 10-3, 12-5, something like that by the All-Star break, I'm all for that. I think that's fantastic. So that's why I'm saying Major League Baseball is scared of the fact that the Padres keep taking guys who nobody else was really fighting over and saying, look, either it's the staff or it's the environment or it's just the change of scenery, but we're going to get the best out of you guys and we're going to turn you guys into all-stars. So hashtag Pivetta for All-Star SD, or I don't even know what the actual hashtag is. I don't know if even hashtags even matter, but Nick Pivetta for All-Star. You heard it here. You heard it now. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And as I said at the beginning, if you could hit the subscribe button, it would be much appreciated. Until next time, talk to you guys soon.